Hello everyone, and welcome to another little fun video I do. This is something different, but I've been pondering a lot about, my position that I want to be in one day, and as some of you might know, I am at some point in my life going to pursue, hopefully, a position in game development and in the whole, you know, industry that is gaming. I'd love to one day be working at one of those positions. It doesn't matter if it's an indie game, AAA game. I just want to be working on a game. I want to be working on concepts that I'm legitimately interested in. And I thought today I could do that. I could share with you maybe concepts that I'm interested in that maybe I think is fresh, maybe I think should make a comeback, maybe I want to do my own spin-offs, or maybe it's something you just never heard of. That's the point of today's video, and I'd love for you, if you have any of you have game concepts you're sharing, be more than willing to share them in the comments. It'll be so fun to read through yours and to learn what gamers out there are looking out for. But yeah, I'm gonna just give you my quick 10. It is from varying stuff, so don't expect all a consistent list of shooters or RPGs or whatever. There's a lot of game concepts that I just want to see in the wild out there, and yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Number one, we have Demolition Derby Sumo. Now, this is a lot to take in at one point, but I want to pitch it to you like this. Imagine an arcade-like car game that is a love child between Wreckfest and Maneater. Now, hopefully you have played either of those games to know what I'm talking about, but you are basically an old wreck of a car, or a stock car, as some people would say, in a desolate world where only madmen live. So think of like a Mad Max setting, or maybe just a very ghost townish skyscraper setting, like almost, I don't know, dystopian, something like that. You travel through the world of rubble, scrapyards, and more. You take on other, basically daring video vehicles online and offline. You like have these beat 'em up sort of modes where you basically do sort of a sumo or showdown with them, and you try and basically bash them up, and you should be the last one standing. You can rank up your car, you can build your car with destructive capabilities and skill trees and more. Just have a little arcade fun with it, and then collect trophies of other cars. You can collect maybe their grill or their hubcaps, or anything fun like that, and like wear it as a trophy. But it puts also maybe a bounty on your head, that other people can chase you. They know you're a dangerous car, they know you're kind of a big gun out there, and all that. And you can have maybe a Grim Reaper, like a tow truck that's chasing you at night. You can have risky stuff at night, and then just play around with the game. There's a lot of cool settings, I think, here, and with risk and reward, with like online and offline, you get rarer cars, maybe higher loot. I think a lot of gamers can invest into something like that if you do it right. So that was my first game concept. I'm very interested in seeing something like that. Guess what, concept number two, a proper rugby game, because it has been too damn long. The thing is, with rugby games, the dilemma has always been, while other sports games are kind of easy to implement, I say kind of because there are complex ones out there and they have managed to pull it off. Like baseball's a pretty complex sport, but we've gotten pretty great baseball games with pretty realistic AI. There are some exploitations, but I digress. It's still very well done, and a very big props to San Diego Studios for that. But other sports are a bit more simple to program, and we see more of those games. Like football is a bit easier to program, American and European football, by the way. But rugby is a really complex thing with a lot of, I want to kind of say, a lot of not messy rules, but all of the rules around rucks, around mauls, around scrums, stuff like that. How do you code that? How do you make sure it's well run and stuff like that? It's a very complex thing, which is where you start to kind of draw the line and say, do you want to make a realistic or complex game, or do you want to make an arcade game? Because yeah, both of them can be attempted. It has been attempted actually to make a complex rugby game, like Jonah Lomu's Rugby Challenge, but it had mixed results. The gameplay had some strange stuff. The passing wasn't all that great. The tackles were kind of questionable, and some of the rucks and scrum things were a bit simplified and stuff together with obvious reason. Arcade can also work. I think the best rugby games are Rugby 06 and 08, and that was pretty simplistic fundamental stuff. You can keep it simple like that and just, make a modern one. We could even go more ridiculous and stylish if you want, such as super moves or monster hits or a big boot where you just boot it downfield, and others, to make it like kind of an arcade-ish rugby game. We can also implement the more fine mechanics of the game, such as sort of different passes, custom set pieces, defending and stuff like that. It depends on, where you're going to approach it from. And, at which level would be interesting, now that I mention it. We've always had rugby at sort of international level, and we've had some competitions representing rugby, like the big leagues around the world and so on, like the Premiership, European League, sometimes the South African leagues, and the Super Rugby and that stuff. But wouldn't it be nice to have, a grassroots level also of rugby, like school levels, varsity and franchise and stuff? From my personal experience in South Africa, we're talking there's a lot of rugby out there in South Africa. There's a lot of rivalries. Two big schools, Paul Roos and Paarl or even Grey College, have massive rivalries each year where Springboks are literally made out of those schools. And nowadays, Springboks are coming out of each and every school, with big rivalries in between. We could have it at varsity even, like this legendary rivalries like Marties and Ikeys, or Poch and Tucks, stuff like that. You can even go, if you don't want to focus on South Africa, maybe you want to, or just focus on a few more countries, you can go to New Zealand. What about the ITM Cup? What about their university clashes? I don't know, I can't tell you because I don't really know the culture, but I know how well watched the ITM Cup is and all their competitions. So it'd be great to like expand the game of rugby, and possibilities are endless because we haven't had one in years. So just go out there and make one. At number 3, we have a world that bleeds magic. Kind of a weird sentence to say, but RPGs have been like very thoroughly explored. I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not gonna gloss over that. They have really been like every nook and cranny has been explored, and a lot of the same tropes come through. One of the most common ones is that magic users are policed or not approved of, or it's kind of always seen as some sort of maybe a negative connotation, is painted in a negative light again because it was always highlighted the dangers. But maybe we should take that a step further, but in a more precursor way. Let's say we want to do a game where the magic is discovered for the first time, but it's like within the earth. Now imagine it's very unstable and people want to harness that magic because they've now discovered it, and obviously they want its power and stuff, but because they are mining it and they don't know how to use it or harness it or safely extract it, something happens, something goes down, and that magic escapes the earth. And because it's so unstable, unpredictable, kind of maybe ruthless even, it starts to destroy the earth, causing, let's say some sort of fallout. And it would be cool, I think, if we have some sort of post-apocalyptic setting like that, with a world where the magic is now bleeding through the earth, and it's changing a lot of the environment in the world dynamically, and kind of we want to go seal it somehow. We need to figure out how to seal it and stuff like that. Or obviously harness it, whatever like your path will be, but you travel across a plane. Like I've written a few ideas down here, but you travel across a plane that shifts time or transports you to a random place on the map. Like I want it to be really unpredictable. I want a world where it what did I write here? A world where it runs the blood of everyone you kill. It can have direct consequences based on your actions, like something like Dishonored does, where it runs the blood of everyone you kill. It becomes more torrential the more you kill, until it just like it floods that section of the map. Maybe it causes monsters of blood to spawn. Unique abilities and loot can appear because of this. I written down here the City of Broken Crowns. That's a setting I've always had in my mind, where maybe there's a lot of everyone wants to be the king of the city, but then they all die or something. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of like fantastical things I think here, but it should be all centered around magic or something like that. And I wanted to permeate the choices of the world and the consequences of the play. I think that would be great. Number 4 is a game where you discover purpose. Now, this is a more journey game. I wanted to say, ever since I was young, I had a fascination about deserts, stories, and secrets they hide. I've had this thing like that the desert literally like covers so much and can reveal so much, but like I want to make it a game where the purpose is to travel across a desert using only stars and landmarks and navigate in search of some sort of oasis in where supposed knowledge lies, like literally a desert story or something like that. This is something I think maybe I got a bit from The Alchemist, the book The Alchemist, written by Paulo Coelho. I can't remember the book really that well anymore, but I do remember when I read that book, it captured me so well because of its desert setting and all that. But I want it to be more of a journey rather than an adventure, which means maybe it doesn't translate well to a game, but it can end at any time, I want to say, because that's how journeys are. A journey can end at any time if you're not careful, whether it's death by various factors like, evil people, starvation, madness, anything you can think of, like where it could affect your journey or by the road you take or whatever. But you could shape your destiny on this journey by what you do and learn of your past. Maybe the character isn't revealed at the beginning, but you learn more as the past as the days go on. And your game must be continuously changed based on your choices. The path obviously must also change and perpetually, kind of haunt or remind the player of like everything they've done in the past. But the oasis must be the end point. I think the oasis must be the end point, and initially you think, yes, I need to reach the oasis. But like Ernest Hemingway said, it's not always about the destination, it's about the journey. I want that journey to kind of take over the idea of a destination where you're not anymore concerned about reaching, but the journey becomes far more important. So it's interesting. I don't see how I can implement it at this point, but it's a really interesting thing I've been mulling over. Number 5 is an RPG with time constraints or more organic quests and timings. So that's a little bit of a mouthful. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to limit the freedom of a player in an RPG or how to play the game. You know, games I always think is like a freedom of expression of how you want to do things and stuff. But I don't know, like I've seen so many RPGs and I've always found it funny, the technicality of like, you have this quest, the main quest in the game, and usually in RPGs, you know, you're the chosen one. You know, there's a cataclysmic event in the world and it's about to end, but you need to stop it, you need to save it. There's a villain maybe even that you need to stop or save. And obviously it's made apparent that they're going to destroy the world if you're not coming in to stop it and stuff, and they seem like, this world's gonna end in 7 days, but we're still able to do all the side quests, level up, mess around, go on random adventures, whatever, and then we just come back to the main quest and nothing has happened. Like, he's still there like, I'm gonna destroy the earth. So I've always found that technicality funny. Like, it's just something about games, you know, it's one of those things about games. But I think it would be cool if you could make it somehow time sensitive. Greedfall kind of did it because Greedfall factored in like journey time towards a destination, and obviously if you don't make it in time, things would change. I remember that being a unique part of that Greedfall. Cyberpunk 2077 also did it semi with its side quests regarding like the character development and stuff, like Panam and Judy and all those. And yeah, I think it would also help, but the organic side of it, I wanted to do the organic side of it just to get rid of bloat. I know it's an inevitable thing and it's helping to like flesh out the game more and stuff, but I've never been a fan of just putting a random side quest on the map. What I mean with that is, you're looking at your map and stuff, and there's a random icon telling you there's a side quest there that you need to go to start the side quest. I don't know, like, I know it's a game and stuff like that, but I've never been a fan of a game spelling out for you that there is content that you're not aware of in the world. Obviously, you know, for your main quest, you have to know where to go and stuff like that. That I don't disagree with. But side quests and stuff that you haven't even started, that's spelled out for you on the map, there's a side quest right there. I don't like that. I'd like a more organic thing, where like you happen to pass by someone and they mention something about a side quest. They don't directly even interact with you. You know that old trope also about RPGs, like, oh, hero of our world, won't you please just, you know, come help us find my frying pan or whatever. Like, I think it's kind of random. Sure, I don't mean you don't interact with the character at all. Maybe you can interact with the character and speak to them about the quest directly, but I think the quest shouldn't tell you it's a quest. Let's say, for example, you pass by a conversation and you hear someone saying their farm burnt down and they lost their, you know, family heirloom. Something like that. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill quest. But they don't tell you. You have to go get the heirloom. It also doesn't spell out for you, go fetch the heirloom. It's to tell you that you can go get the heirloom, and then it's your choice to keep it, or to approach them and say, hey, I heard your story about the heirloom, here's the heirloom back, I found it. You know, I think it would be way more organic, but again, like, how do you get that out? I don't know. It's something to play around with, because it'll make for a very organic world. I do think it will make for a very, very organic world, and it would be cool if you did that. And obviously, I think because of timeliness, I want to also circle back to it, I think also with timeliness, because you have a more timeliness about your main quest and stuff, like maybe you allow more replayability in playthroughs, because then you only have limited time to join different factions and go to different side quests and experience different plot lines and cutscenes and endings. And I know it might be annoying for some people, but I think if you can pull it off, it will make for a refreshing, great game. So that's my piece. But yeah, that's a difficult RPG. Number 6, I have stories about football. Now, this interesting one I actually got from FIFA The Journey and stuff like that. You know, remember that little storyline that went from FIFA 17, I believe, to FIFA 19? And, you know, I thought it was so neat because, especially in sports and stuff, in our world, there's so much diversity and culture, and there are very few things that unify us as much as sport really does. Yet football is still with a lot of different representations around the world. In South Africa, we have something that is called disky football, another style of play. It's also quite similar because also for the kids, the similar to Brazil's story, where it gives a lot of hope for kids who maybe don't have the fortunate circumstances and stuff like that. And the fans are just something else in a lot of these cultures. So creating stories and helping everyone not only learn something more about other people's culture and how they represent football, and
you can just create the most engrossing stories. It doesn't have to be fictional. You can even take from the real deal. There's so many things that we can just discuss, and like, I don't know, man. I think for such a global, popular sport, I'm a little bit shocked that it hasn't been attempted a little bit more. I understand the licensing and stuff kept by FIFA and stuff, but man, you don't need licensing when you can make a compelling story like that. Okay, number 7, I have anthology. Now, that's a very wide concept and stuff like that, but I've lobbied along for this type of idea to grow more in games. So, anthological presentations of stories, I think, offers a different opportunity of a lot of perspectives and multiple protagonists and something to the same story. It's not to say that, like, having one protagonist or a kind of linear story like that that's being told through one viewpoint is a bad thing, but I think you can also achieve a lot of different things as well with an anthological story. So yeah, there's a lot of games recently that have done it, like Man of Medan, I think that's a good one, or Detroit Become Human's a pretty good one with the choice-based system. I don't necessarily think you need to have all these choice-based systems and have so many choices where your protagonist can die and stuff. You can still just tell the story from different viewpoints. Even something like Last of Us Part 2 that, even though it wasn't executed as well, I think it was a pretty neat and kind of daring thing for them to attempt. And it was something also cool, I think, in the early Call of Duty games, even thinking back about that. I mean, those war stories were really well told through the eyes of different people, but fighting the same war. And I think that's also an easy theme that you can have. Something where there's different factions or sides to the story and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a lot you can do. Think about it for a while. For game concept number 8, I have Cowboy and Wild West. Yeah, I think the Wild West is a time period, I don't know, I'm a little bit in love with the Wild West, the idea thereof and all that, like kind of just that free roaming, free ranching type of thingy. But I think it's just been rarely explored in video games. Now I know people are gonna rag on and say, yeah, but Red Dead Redemption is kind of the definitive experience. And I wouldn't say I disagree, but I do think it doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a shot to try and tell a Wild West story, because there's a lot to talk about, you know? There's a lot more to say about the whole 30 years or something of the happenings, because we can say about the initial gold rushes, you know, to convert it to the open plains, maybe about the James Younger gang, which is kind of like the Van der Linde gang, but there's something to talk about. The Indian Wars, you know, like what the generals at that had to face, and kind of the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. But you could also go into more fictional direction with a more fun approach. Maybe something like what Westworld was, or Cowboys versus Aliens. Think of just the Wild West as a cool little backdrop or setting that can, like, not only capture a time period, but give a nice little different immersive experience from just your standard RPG or whatever. Number 9, an animal game. Yeah, they're also fun and wacky. I know most games we have when it comes to animals revolve around pets, but specifically pet care. So we kind of have this sort of thing where we not only learn maybe kids how to care for their pets through games or other media, but you can also just, you know, have fun and play around with, you know, having your own pet, saying like, oh yeah, I've always wanted a hamster or whatever, and you get to care for a hamster now and stuff. It's fun to see different pets and behaviors and all that, but I think playing as pets is also quite rare. It's not like Sims or games where there are like needs and social simulation stuff like that, but it's just a fun game of exploring on the day in the life of an animal. I think Stray, the most recent example you can all probably think of, portrayed cats super well, and it goes so well actually hand in hand with puzzles, with the way cats are, and it did so well. I mean, it actually got nominated for Game of the Year at some point, but it just really did platforming and puzzling really well. And I think we can even do something similar for a dogs game. Come on, we had the Dog's Life like ages ago, which was simple but really effective as a game. And I think with the updates in the technology, it could be so much more we can try. We can have so much innovation. I think of tug of war deals, dog relationships, chasing tail, mastering, stuff like that, or fetch. And even maybe something, if you want to even dig deep into more configured to stuff, maybe like even in accessibility settings, we have a dog vision, where it's only like the limited sense of color that they have. Even smell-o-vision, if you look at the recent reports that PlayStation 5 is going out. But yeah, go wild. And of course, last but not least, for my last gaming concept, a new party game. Because come on, people, since when have parties and getting together stopped? Like, I get party games maybe have not been so much in favor since people have been less like coming together and stuff, and then yeah, you just mostly play online. But I mean, getting a party game, you know, for young kids or a group of teens or adults even or whatever, and you can have like a family game night, and you can have like pictures taken or audio taken while they're playing to create awesome memories like that, like the Kinect used to do when you were playing Kinect. And it could be any sort, anything that revolves around a little game with a little bit of competition, but also a lot of fun. Like trivia games could be that, or chaotic games. It can be something that you can play at parties, even for non-gamers, you know, that can be like that accessibleness for your non-gamers to get into it. Could be board games. Board games have been represented quite a bit, like Monopoly and all that. But I don't know, I'd rather prefer a more trivial, chaotic game. Could even be drinking games, and that's something if you want to go into the more adult content and stuff like that. But I think this should be just, if you can blend it really well, it could be so much fun to get back into it. Great examples of games that have done this, but I still love is That's You. Freaking great game. I do recommend that if you haven't tried it out before. Knowledge is Power, trivia game, quite good. Jackbox Party, I think, is on the PC. Really good game, a little bit of everything. Hasbro's Family Game Night was a game I played on PS2, but like anything like that, just having fun with friends or family. Like, why did they stop that? But yeah, those are my 10 game concepts. I think it's a good few, solid few. Whether it's going to be me implementing them, or maybe hopefully by some miracle it's going to be implemented by someone else, I don't know, but I would love to see them all. But yeah, if you have any of your own, please do let me know in the comments. I thought it was a nice little different video I wanted to do to share all my lovely ideas about it, and I'd love to hear more of your ideas. But yeah, gaming is a wonderful medium where creativity really knows no bounds, and I can just wish that it grows more and more and more. But until that, yeah, I thought this was a fun video. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching and having a listen to this, and I hope to see you guys soon again. But until then, you guys stay safe, and we'll chat soon.